Who was the one that said that if he didn't raise $1 million, he was going to die, and he'd seen a 900-foot Jesus in Tulsa, Oklahoma? That's who actually told him this.
That was that Oral Roberts? No, not Oral Roberts. That was.
No, I think you were right. I think it was Oral Roberts.
It might have been either Oral Roberts or what's the Ernest Angley? Remember Ernest Angley?
Nah, it was Oral.
Ernest Angley actually bought my Uncle Rex's old church, the old Cathedral of Tomorrow. He does his thing there.
Smacking off the podcast.
So what's going on in football? What's there to talk about?
College football. We just had the conference championship, so I think we should rehash a little of that. I think you gentlemen probably have some thoughts, as do I. We have individual awards tonight and the Heisman on Saturday. We have a game this week, so we don't have games of the week, but we have the game of the week. And then we have a little bit of bowl season to talk about. Those are our big four topics. So
do we have to talk about the shitty bowls? Can we talk about the good bowls, or
you can talk about any bowl that I think is your cup of tea that you're excited for. I think that's what the people want, and we give the people what they want.
UAB's bowling this year, aren't they?
I believe
they're bowl eligible this year. Yeah.
Yes, they have. They've
already played their bowl.
No. They are the first bowl game of bowl season. Friday, 16 December, they take on the Miami,
Ohio. Yeah.
Red Hawks.
Yeah,
yes.
I think what you've seen, Shannon, was somebody was making a prediction on the score, I guess. Somebody in group did that.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought that was an actual score, and I was like, and I felt bad because I've been so out of the loop lately. I was like, holy shit, did I miss UAB's bowl game? So, yeah.
No.
Thanks for the clarification, guys.
I don't think we've ever had a bowl this early.
No. No.
We should. I mean, really, now that we move into the 12-team playoff, we definitely should go ahead and start bowl season immediately after conference championship. Go ahead and get them out of the way.
I agree. Yeah, you got to move the bowls that aren't. I would just to Shannon's point. You got to move the bowls that don't matter back a couple weeks, which would be right after conference championship weekend.
I think we're going to have to address something else first, though.
Go ahead.
We're talking about the bowls that don't matter. Let me tell you what don't matter, and that's fucking conference championship games.
Well,
I mean, there's still something to be said about
TCU. Could definitely strongly argue that one right now. TCU, because of that conference win, that's the only reason that they're in.
But I'm just saying it's a no-win situation for college football as a whole to play these games. They need to replace these games with the opening round.
Doug is looking at it from the macro perspective, which is, I completely agree with you. I'm not.
But what about the teams that are not Power 5, Power 6, Power 6? Go Gus Malzahn. Yeah, fuck that.
I'm not disagreeing with Doug's point. It's a very valid, reasonable point. But there is still something to say about being your conference champion. And also, let's not forget, we've harped on this, Doug and I, that is, throughout the entire season. Money matters. Conference championship games are not going anywhere because it's another opportunity to make money.
You don't have to do away with conference champions, though, to do this. You still have conference champions.
No, but you need the game. You know why you need the game? So you can make more money and you have more ad revenue.
Well, I'll tell you what, they definitely need to, all the conferences need to stop with this fucking division thing, and they need to put the two best teams in this game.
Absolutely. Now, that is spot on. Absolutely spot on. And the Big Ten is the biggest egregious villain of this. Yep. We should have seen Michigan play Ohio State yet again. Not a don't want to disrespect Purdue too much. 8-4 Purdue team that had no business being on the field with Michigan in the Big Ten title game. Same is true. I guess they still would. Well, maybe I'd have to go in and look if they didn't. They don't have division, but I mean, North Carolina once Clemson put Cade Klubnik in, and we can laugh at Dabo all for he probably would have been in the playoff had he went with Klubnik, which I think all of us talked about after week 1. The Georgia Tech game. Klubnik came in, and I don't know if you guys caught the score: 39-10, 39-10. And how many of those points were accumulated by the backup quarterback, the better quarterback? But remember, DJ is our quarterback. The funniest part is Dabo was still singing DJ's praises after the game, and 2 days later he hit the portal. So
all right, y'all gonna have to go at this because Shannon loves DJ.
I'm not in love with the guy. It's not like I'm going to blow him or have his kids or anything like that. But I mean,
I was merely speaking to the hypocritical nature that is Dabo Sweeney. I think DJ is a fine person. I think he's a great teammate. I don't think he's a great quarterback. I think, again, this is where star rankings sometimes are wrong. Remember, he was a 5-star. He was heralded as one of the best 4 that came out in that class. I think that was the same class as Bryce Young and CJ Stroud. Well, both Bryce Young and CJ Stroud are doing really great. DJ, something went wrong in the process. I mean, he's inaccurate. I mean, that one throw, if you watched any of this ACC title game, that one throw, it was like one of his first 5 throws. Just he threw it right in the dirt at the feet of the receiver. And he looked like he just sort of laughed about it. It was like, oh well. And then he came out after the game and he's like, well, yeah, Dabo told me that Cade would get some time in this game. It's like, well, Dabo, if you just gone with, I mean, remember Dabo was quick to get rid of Kelly Bryant a few years ago for Trevor Lawrence. He probably should have done that earlier this year with Klubnik, and we might be looking at Clemson in the playoff. That's just my 2 cents. It's not a knock against DJ. It's just reality.
I don't know. We've seen chinks in the armor in Clemson. Which one's going to retire first, Dabo or Nick?
Well, I don't think Dabo's going to retire, but I do think he will.
No. Well, no. Back up now. If we still continue to churn out, 10, and then it slips down to 9-win seasons. I mean, at what point? Because obviously both Dabo and Nick's star has faded just a little bit. I would probably question that Nick's star fading by a mere 4 points in a really, really, really tough division, arguably the most toughest division in college football.
Wait. Are you saying that Nick Saban is sliding? I don't think he is. No.
I really don't. Now that I'm mirroring public perception right now. If you get on social media, hell, even just for me walking into the hardware store and hearing some of the shit coming out of Bama fans' mouth about the shape of our program, and we need to get rid of this one and get rid of that one, and this, that, and the other. And guys, pump the brakes. You're arguing about 4 points here, 4 points here. Alabama's undefeated, walks into the playoffs, or at least walks into the.
Anybody asking for Nick Saban to quit, resign, etc., is just simply college football stupid. I mean,
well, it's not really about anybody saying that Nick's going to quit or resign, but everybody feels like that, or at least the fan base feels like the handwriting's on the wall. I stand completely apart from the usual Bama crowd on that, because Nick Saban is without a doubt the finest college football coach to this very day right now.
I'm not an Alabama fan, but I completely agree with you. I mean,
is Nick supposed to make the call the right call every single time? We're asking for the impossible. Now we've come to expect the impossible, and it's horseshit. It's a horseshit mentality. I'm very grateful that we were, with the deficiencies that we had this season, able to eke out the season that we did.
Exactly.
And take care of business when it needed to be taken care of. The Tennessee loss is a heartbreaker, but again, there's a lot of X factors. There's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of things you find in college football that you just don't find at the pro level, that makes it just, all these X factors. It just makes it so much more interesting sometimes.
So I don't think that Saban has fallen off. I think that he's got some problems that he needs to address. But yeah,
well, do you think one of those problems also is an adjustment to the college game that is completely 1,000% shifted in front of our eyes during his tenure there?
I mean, he'll have to adapt. He'll have to adapt to that.
He, the way he ran his program was the standard, but now with the portal and NIL, look at Lane Kiffin, who has used the portal to his absolute maximum, fullest potential, and been able to find success with that Ole Miss just hasn't had, except for that one guy that was there for a minute.
So the only point I want to make about Saban is, yes, it was 4 points with 2 losses that separated Alabama from an undefeated season. But if you look down the list of these games, Alabama could have easily had 4 losses.
Absolutely, that Texas game.
We could if and but all night long. But I mean, the fact remains, you're talking about not you guys, but the generic Alabama. Dylan from Coleman. Is saying that the dynasties, you went 10-2 and your 2 losses, and we're just talking about reality. What factually happened we're on a last-second field goal on the road and a 2-point conversion on the road, and I think overtime. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think that was overtime. Again, the Barbarians are not at the gate just yet. You got the number 1 recruiting class coming in. I will say, could Coach Saban and his staff do a little bit better job of the transfer portal? Because last cycle, it didn't go so well, other than Jahmyr Gibbs, who was incredible. But that offensive lineman that came in from Vandy, he didn't do much. And the wide receiver that you got from Georgia, didn't really pan out. So he could do a little more work. He could be better, with the portal. But the portal was so damn new. Only a few teams have really made hay with it, to be frank. So let's pump the brakes. We're 2 years off a national title here. 2020 was a national title season.
It was.
21 was Georgia. If Jamison Williams and John Mechie aren't injured, I think that game plays out a lot differently. I don't like to make excuses, but it is. I mean, injuries do happen.
I will. I'll make that excuse because that's the truth.
You're an Alabama fan. You're allowed to make that excuse.
Way different game. Yes.
A completely different game. So let's just. I haven't seen anything from Coach Saban that would give me. And I'm not an Alabama fan. I'm just a neutral observer. But he has done nothing, nor has other. The only guy that I think needs to be asked maybe to go find a better job is Bill O'Brien. And I've never been a Bill O'Brien fan. You guys know I watch a lot of the NFL. I've seen him numerous times in his NFL days. His offense is slightly unimaginative. And additionally, it places a great deal of responsibility on the quarterback to make very last-second adjustments at the line of scrimmage as the play clock is running, which sometimes is a bridge too far, particularly on the road when in the SEC. You know how hostile road environments are. And as great as Bryce Young is, you're asking this man to do a million things before snapping the ball.
Like he's a 4-year NFL quarterback or something.
Right. He's not in his 5th year with the Patriots. He's a junior in college for crying out loud. So, I would recommend getting rid of Bill O'Brien and bringing in a better offensive coordinator. The talent is certainly there. I mean, all you have to do is, Will Anderson is cleaning up with the defensive awards. Young, unfortunately, he's getting kind of hosed because of, the team factor. The silliness is, Stetson Bennett is going to New York for the Heisman. He has no business being there because Bryce Young is infinitely better. Hendon Hooker was better than him. But
I'm just glad Benton was able to get there before he turned 30.
I know. He was trying to break Chris Winke's record, I think.
Chris Winke was didn't he have he had a mortgage and an ex-wife?
Right. I just happened the other day. I was thinking about him, and you guys are old enough to remember when he won the Heisman. He is 50 years old as of a few weeks ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll tell you who the oldest looking quarterback was that won the Heisman was Gino Torretta.
Oh, that dude looked 40 when he was 20.
He did.
Yeah, I remember that. That was one of my first Heismans I remember.
Yeah, my granddad used to call him Grandpa.
Oh, that dude. Yeah, I mean, he'd take his helmet off and you go, whoa, is this Gino Torretta or George Blanda?
Right.
But no, I mean, I get Doug's point about the conference championship, but it was a fun weekend regardless. Let's give some props to Texas San Antonio Roadrunners. They won the Conference USA title. They're going to a bowl game. They're 11-2. Good for that program. When they actually had a decent turn that game on.
Actually, you know who's really to as far as their success within the conference and them being able to win the conference championship, we got to give full credit to Bill Clark retiring.
Oh, hi, I'm Clemson Dane, and this is Smacking Off, the podcast.
It's like cocaine or something. I don't know. These motherfuckers just talk about college sports, specifically college football, and man, let me tell you, it's a hoot.
Support our podcast by purchasing cool Smacking Off merchandise. Go to smackingoff.myspreadshop.com for all of your Smacking Off needs.
Props out to the Tulane Green Wave winning their conference, beating Gus Malzahn's UCF Golden Knights and securing a bid into the Cotton Bowl, their first ever appearance in the Cotton Bowl, where they'll get USC. Great for USC shitting the bed Friday night against Utah. I mean, they got pounded. Hard.
They did.
But I hope the Green Wave keeps the momentum going and can beat USC in the Cotton Bowl. That'd be great. Good for that program. Good to see New Orleans doing well. And it's funny. Tulane made New Year's Six Bowl before Brian Kelly and his family did. The LSU Tigers.
True story.
Yeah. So that was good. The rest of it, I mean, Georgia put 50 on LSU. I don't think we were surprised about that.
I was a little surprised about the 30 that LSU put on Georgia, though, because it didn't look like they were going to be able to reach it.
I do think I got to give a little credit to, and, something to look forward to in 2023. I think LSU might have found their quarterback. Nussmeier looked pretty good. Thoughts on Nussmeier?
I mean,
he looked good. You got to admit, he looked good.
Yeah. Again, I don't know. Maybe Georgia had backed off a little bit. I don't know. We'll see. I will say that Brian Kelly exceeded all expectations for LSU fans, just being able to reach the SEC championship game.
Absolutely.
So LSU fans have nothing to be ashamed about this season. A transitional season at that. Beating out giant killing Alabama, and then at least being able to represent the SEC West in the big game. That's huge. I mean, really for a team that came from as much turmoil as they came from. Kelly's really done a nice job.
I mean, yeah, you got to give him a little props because, I mean, when he took over, this was a few days before, they got absolutely destroyed by Kansas State in their bowl game last year, if you recall. So, yeah, you got to give them credit for where they are. But I was glad Georgia put 50 on them, my own personal auspices. And then lastly, shout out, congratulations, Troy, the Trojans. They're Sun Belt Conference champions. 11-2, great season for Troy. Good for Troy. And then probably the game that was the game of the weekend was the TCU Kansas State game. If you didn't watch that one, you missed out on a classic.
No,
it was, and it definitely it surprised a few people, but I don't know. Kansas State they have a way of, and like a lot of other Big 12 teams, of winning the games that they probably shouldn't, and losing a few of the games that they definitely shouldn't.
They come down close to doing it the first time they played.
Which makes them a very dangerous opponent for the Alabama Crimson Tide when it comes to the big bad.
I can only say, and again, I was biased watching it. I'm a big TCU guy. I like TCU. I like Sonny Dykes. I've liked that program for a long time. To see them come from where they were, 20 years ago, they were a group of 5 team to now being a Power 5 team after the Big 12 told them initially when that merger happened. You guys are old enough to remember in 95, 96, when the old Southwest Conference folded and they took, Texas Tech, Texas, Baylor, and Texas A&M. They told TCU to pound sand. Well, here we are, not quite 30 years later, but, TCU having the season it's had. I'm very proud of that program. And it's a small campus. It's a beautiful campus. You ever been to Fort Worth? Give it a quick walkthrough. But I do have one gripe with Sonny Dykes, and as of tonight, he won the Walter Camp Coach of the Year award. So good on him. But you get the ball first in overtime. I get the kind of the bravado, the ballsy play with going for it on 4th down and goal. But at the time, and now it'll sound like I'm second guessing, but you got to come away with points. Kick the field goal and have some faith in your defense, that you're not going to give up more than a field goal. And then you play another overtime. I didn't like the call there to go for it first and foremost on that 4th down goal to go. And then I really didn't like the play call. So to me, again, we're playing armchair quarterback, but I would have kicked the field goal, take the points, and just, tell your defense to, get off the field. And maybe he didn't have the confidence in his defense. Maybe that's why he went for it. But outside of that Big 12 title game literally gave you everything you could ask for. That was one of the greatest college football games I've watched as of late. So that's sort of my spiel on conference championship week.
I don't know. The greatest game I've seen recently was that ass whipping that Alabama put on Auburn, but I'm biased. So.
You're talking this year?
Of course.
Yeah.
Because we actually won.
Our usual compatriot who's working tonight, who couldn't make it, so he was given the usual morale boost. We played hard. I quickly shut it down. I think on last week's call, Doug can attest to this. At no point I watched that game from start to finish. I watch the Iron Bowl every year. You gentlemen know that. At no point during that game was I ever nervous for Alabama. Never.
No, I really, in fact, I didn't cut the game off. Well, I didn't cut the game off. I just had it in the background for a little while playing with the baby and didn't really, Alabama had gotten comfortably ahead. And once I saw what Auburn wasn't able to do, but more importantly though, because all of the conference winners that you just listed, there's a couple of Alabama teams sprinkled in there. And just a quick reminder to all of the Auburn faithful, Alabama, South Alabama, Troy, UAB. Oh God, who else? Doug, help me. There's one more team.
Another Alabama team that's got a good record.
That's actually gonna go to a bowl this year. I know there's 5. I've just named 4. Who's the 5th one? Is it Sanford Bulldogs? Oh my God, yeah. Who also won their division, but they are going to a bowl.
Well, they're going to the playoffs probably.
FCS, yeah, they're in the playoffs for FCS.
Yeah, well, that's a bowl. But yeah, Auburn Tigers are not going to a bowl this year. Just wanted to point that out. Again.
I'd say the state of Alabama is probably the best state for college football. All the programs. Ohio is definitely up there as well.
Texas is puffing their chest out right now. Go TCU. Go Horned Frogs.
Yep, Texas is but Texas is so big, come on. That's almost not fair. You know what state isn't? Florida. Florida's down bad. And let's start with Miami.
The U's back.
Well, they told us that preseason, but
no, I literally listened to. God, I can't tell you how many hundreds of fans. They're back. Turnover chain.
I mean, they're so bad that they're not even going to whatever that Podunk Bowl was. They lost to Louisiana Tech a few years ago. That's how bad they are. but I guess they're back.
Is Louisiana Tech going to a bowl?
I think they are.
I think they are.
I'd have to look. I don't know. I'd have to look. But, I mean, they're probably closer to a bowl game than the U is. Florida, Sunbelt Billy. Ugh. Ugh.
Yeah, I give the guy a chance. He just got there.
I mean, is he going to have enough scholarship players to field a roster against Oregon State in their bowl game? Did you see how many Florida players hit the portal?
Are you going to watch that game?
I'm going to watch all of them. You know that. I'm a glutton for punishment, Shannon.
Oh, okay.
And I have to redeem myself.
Tell me how it works out. Go Beavers.
I know. I know. You have no sympathy for me.
Go Beavers.
I have to redeem myself in Bowl Mania Challenge because breaking news, I lost to Gene Chavez this year. Can you believe that? That just... I mean, Jenna's laughing her butt all the way to the bank, beside the fact that her, volunteers, choked to South Carolina. But she beat me.
No, they beat Alabama. They beat Alabama. They beat Alabama. That's what they did. They beat Alabama. So beat Alabama. That's what they did. 1988.
So they beat Alabama. Her team beat Alabama, and then she beat me in the pick'em, which she's never done before. So I got to give her a little tip of the cap. Good for her. First time for everything. But we will readjust and make sure that does not happen again next year. But as Alabama will with Tennessee when they come to Bryant-Denny next year, where they will get pounded. Because Joe Milton, I don't know if you guys watched a little Joe Milton, but
I remember him.
Yeah, he's still bad at throwing the football, and he's a quarterback.
Oh, that's not good.
So yeah, it's like a doctor that's a surgeon, but he's really shaky with the scalpel. You don't want that. Not good. Individual awards.
If they're going to be shaky, I prefer them to be a pharmacist. You know what I'm saying? Wink.
That's very well played, Shannon.
Meet me at the back door.
Individual awards. Any thoughts on tonight's awards? Did either of you gentlemen watch the awards show? Or
I know that that one award. Oh God! I completely blanked. COVID, brain fog. That's what it's got to be.
But individual awards came out tonight. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, about
oh my 20, God, all the awards.
About 25 of them. There's still a few more. The Manning Award is after the bowl games. Same with Sammy Baugh.
Is that named after Archie Manning or Peyton Manning? For the
whole Manning family, yes.
I think they really should. They need to take because I believe it was Archie's name on there. They just need to take that off and just put Manning and just leave it.
No, they have. It used to be the Archie. Yeah, so it's now just the Manning Family Award, and it's for the best quarterback after bowl games. So that one, we'll catch that one in January. The Sammy Baugh Trophy hasn't been awarded yet.
I think they should all really come after the bowl games, to be quite frank.
I agree with you. I'd like them all to be after bowl games. That way everyone, has played their last game but tradition dictates we do this after the regular season. So we're going to keep doing it. I only had one gripe tonight, and it's a small gripe. I think you guys know what that is.
No, I don't.
No. Well, and they've had a great season, and certainly they're the number one team of the country, the Georgia Bulldogs, and I'm not knocking the player. He's a great player. But, Brock Bowers wins the John Mackey Award. As the nation's best tight end. The problem I have with that is one of the other finalists in his category had better stats.
We've seen a lot of that across the board with a lot of these awards.
Yeah. So what are we doing here?
It's a popularity award. Now look, it's a popularity award among the finalists. Because most of the people in most of the categories that I've seen, the stats at least kind of back it up, but the where people are leaning towards versus the people they're skipping over doesn't make sense.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's, and I hate to, play tinfoil conspiracy guy here, but a certain network does own the award show, has for a number of years, and they have a bit of a slant, and their host is certainly an alum of that slant. It just is, it makes you go, makes you say, I'll just say that. Particularly when some of the other finalists for certain awards are part of teams that are part of other networks. So that's all. Not that I'm saying Bowers is a great player. He certainly is. But unfortunately, his numbers don't do it. One of the other finalists for that award. But the award show happened this evening. Got that out of the way. And then we're on to Saturday. Saturday is a big day. We have a twofer for college football Saturday.
Yep.
And we start with arguably one of the best rivalry games that is not played on the usual rivalry weekend. Are either of you gentlemen excited for America's game?
Yeah, I mean, Navy's coming in with a good team this year.
They are, but the odds makers, the men in the desert, have Army installed as a 2.5-point favorite.
Boy, I really need Justin Pike on that one right now.
Hello, this is viral TikTok king and Justin Brindley. You're watching Smacking Off the Podcast with Doug and Shannon.
You can now tag team our affiliate retail deals with Overstock, Walmart, and Best Buy.
Find our affiliate links at smackology.42web.io and click affiliates at the top of the page.
This is your grandfather's game if you're looking for old-style football. We're talking single wing, triple option, veer kind of football. Might see a total of, and this is probably a bet for Vegas, what is the over-under on forward passes thrown in this game? It might be 5, 5.5, 6. Both teams don't really throw the ball, but it's truly a great game, a great rivalry. And you know that both teams are going to literally give everything they have to include broken bones to win this game. That's what I love about this game.
I always watch this game. I don't know why. My dad always watched it. He was an Army guy, so. But I always watch this game.
That's the other thing for most people that can get into this game is they've got a loved one, a friend, a family member that has been in the service somewhere with one of the two entities, either, on the Army side or the Navy/Marine Corps side, because the Naval Academy does commission Marine Corps officers as well. So that's why people ask, well, why did the Marines have their own academy? Well, it's part of the Naval Academy. Navy is there.
They play so fucking hard. They all do.
Oh, yeah. They're trying to kill each other out there for the 60 minutes of the game, and then they come together, they shake hands in the best of sportsmanship, and the goal is, so the winner of this game gets to sing second, which is the team that loses, you go over to their crowd and you sing their fight song, Alma Mater, first, and then the winning team, you go and sing their alma mater second. That's the tradition of this game.
We don't sing the alma mater. We sing Rammer Jammer when we win.
Or Dixieland Delight.
Yeah.
I do love me some Dixieland Delight. Great tradition there at Alabama. But no, I mean, I think we don't have a lot of games this weekend. Army Navy is a great game. It does every year. I wouldn't suggest betting on it. That's another topic for another day, but give it a watch. I believe it's on CBS. It'll be fun. It's always fun. And then we roll right into the Heisman Trophy. And I think we all kind of know who's going to win this thing, I think.
I don't know. So you tell us.
I feel like it's Caleb Williams to lose. And I hope that's not accurate. I hope I'm wrong, but it really felt like for the last 2 weeks, and you guys tell me I'm wrong, but we talk about social media, we talk about just regular media, traditional media. It really feels like there was just a groundswell for Caleb Williams. And, especially after him beating Notre Dame and having the spectacular performance he did. Things didn't go well in the Pac-12 game. Looked like he got a little banged up. But he did win today the AP Player of the Year, which is generally a good, barometer, or temperature taker for the Heisman winner. I would be surprised if he's not the Heisman winner. Would you gentlemen not? You think it's Stroud or Duggan or Stetson Bennett?
Well, Duggan won the quarterback award.
So he won the Davey O'Brien. He won the Davey O'Brien quarterback award, but there's a little bias there because it is run out of, I want to say, Fort Worth, which, wink, wink, is where TCU is.
Yeah, and TCU is also kind of a Cinderella story this year as well. So it's a real feel-good thing going on down there, and usually feel-good stories will generate those kind of awards.
Certainly. I agree with you. Yep. And that was actually, surprisingly, so the Davey O'Brien Award is named after Davey O'Brien, who went to TCU and won the Heisman in 1938. This is their first ever Davey O'Brien Award winner tonight with Duggan. Fun fact. Yeah, TCU never had a quarterback after him win it until tonight with Max Duggan. Wow. And Duggan also won as the upperclassman of these quarterbacks. He won the Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award 2 nights ago. But I just don't see him, as much as I'd love to see him win the Heisman, I just don't think he's going to have enough of the votes. I think I would be shocked if it's not Caleb Williams. I think it's probably Stetson Bennett, as much as, because as much as we knock Stetson Bennett for being not the greatest quarterback in the world. I mean, he did have a 3-game-in-a-row stretch where he didn't throw a touchdown pass. He does win. He does win those games. Now, it's not supposed to be a team award, but we've seen in the past players on great teams win the award. So to me, it's a 2-horse race. It's Stetson Bennett against Caleb Williams. I don't think Duggan or C.J. Stroud, because C.J. Stroud, unfortunately, Ohio State didn't play in a lot of big games this year. They played the Notre Dame game to start the season. They played the Penn State game, so Stroud was good in those two. But the last image that Heisman voters have of him was a very poor performance against Michigan. Yeah. So I think Stroud is out. Duggan, unfortunately, TCU wasn't dominant. They had a lot of close wins this year. Again, I think it's a 2-horse race. I think it's Williams, and I think it's Stetson Bennett. And I think Williams wins out because he was for every game, but the Pac-12 title game, he was quite magnificent. He was spectacular. As much as whether you care for some of his lesser characteristics, painting the F word on his fingernails, I don't think that's a great look. But, I mean, he was spectacular.
Man, he's a fucking kid. Kids do shit like that. He's 20 years old. Come on.
That's not me. That's people, and I don't have a Heisman vote.
Well, but that right there is kind of, something like that 10, 15 years ago would have been a much bigger deal than it is now.
I agree. I agree.
I mean, we're in a whole new world, fellas.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, if I was putting money down, which I'm not, I would bet on Caleb Williams. And to me, having the game I watched the most with him was the Notre Dame game. He was spectacular. We couldn't tackle him. He made great throws. I think his Pro Football Focus grade, even though he can't come out this year, was exceptionally high. I would be quite surprised if he doesn't win. And if Stetson Bennett wins, then, good for him. Good for him. I mean, he's done what he's needed to do. Georgia is 13-0. You cannot take that away from them. But I think it's those two guys. I think when the ballots come out Saturday night, one of those two will be 1, the other will be 2, and then you'll see probably Duggan 3 and Stroud will probably be 4th. What are your guys' thoughts?
It's not going to shock me if Bennett wins it.
No. I would not be. No, I'm not. No. But I think you and I are, Doug, Shannon, and I are all college football warriors to this point where does anything shock you anymore these days?
No, I mean, I think Stroud winning would shock me.
That would shock me. Yes.
That would, and again, we've spoken about this at great length on this show as far as things that happen later in the season and the optics that they provide for, conference selection committees and awards voters and things of that sort. So if you're going to make those kind of mistakes or have that kind of night, especially against a team like Michigan, you better do it early in the season.
Right. And not to quote Bear Bryant, but I will. I mean, the games that you remember are the games in November. And those, I hate this, the old axiom everyone likes to try to tell you is that every game has the same meaning. But we all know that that's false. That's a lie. The games when you're in the hunt and it's November and you're playing your rivals, those games mean more because more eyeballs are going to be on them. And, unfortunately for Ohio State, the Big Ten had a down year. It really did. There were only 3 good teams, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State. The rest were all sort of just mediocre or above mediocre. And, he laid an egg against Michigan. And that's just the reality of it. And I feel for the kid, but that's the lasting image that those Heisman balloters have.
I'm going to rephrase what I said. I said I wouldn't be shocked if Bennett won it. I'm just going to say this. I have a feeling that Bennett's going to win it.
I have a sneak. I mean, he's definitely if it's not Caleb Williams, it's got to be Stetson Bennett, right? I mean, yep. I can't see Stroud winning it for sure, having not played in a conference championship game. So I'd take him out. And then Duggan, unfortunately, had TCU won that game, then I would have him as the odds-on favorite. Because again, as Shannon said, everyone loves the Cinderella story. That's why March Madness does the numbers it does on television, because of the Cinderella story. But he didn't win the game. So now you got to look at, is it the talent in Caleb Williams, or is it the other sort of Cinderella story? I'm not calling him a total, because Georgia's been dominant. They've been the number 1 team almost the whole year. They're the defending national champions.
I've got to ask this question, though. Who was more important to their team's success this year?
It has to be
Caleb Williams or Stetson Bennett.
It's Caleb Williams because
it definitely is Caleb Williams. Because I'm going to tell you one thing right now. Even when Stetson Bennett was soft, Georgia's defense churned all year long from the start of the game to the very finish. So he got some help in that regard. No two ways around it.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, even though the definition of the award from the Heisman Trust is the most outstanding player, which to me, none of the finalists are the most outstanding player. I think the best that I've seen, either in person or on television, the most outstanding players that I've seen are Texas's Bijan Robinson, the running back, and of course, Ohio State's just magnificent wide receiver, Marvin Harrison Jr., but neither of them are finalists because this has morphed into a who's on a really good team award over the last 20, 25 years. Whether that's right or wrong.
Roll Tide.
Well, I mean, no, I mean.
True story,
Well, I mean, Mark Ingram, no offense, but I mean, Mark Ingram.
True story.
But, I can give you another one. Matt Leinart of USC. I mean, come on. Or Jason White of Oklahoma.
Now, Derrick Henry, that was for real.
No, Derrick Henry that was not one of those ones.
That's still for real, by the way.
Yeah, Derrick Henry is incredible. I mean, he's going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, no doubt. So he is not included in that group. But like Ron Dane is another one, who else can we throw in there? Jameis was on a great team, a national championship winning team. Jameis's NFL career has, if not at least hit a road bump, it's certainly not on the fast track. We'll just say that. But yeah, I mean, if you're on a great team, it certainly helps your case, with Heisman balloters. whether that's right or wrong, that's up for a debate on another day. But I agree with Doug. I don't, if it's not Caleb Williams, it has to be Stetson Bennett. It has to be.
I mean, I feel like that Stetson's just going to get a little bit more of what the Southeast is going to vote a certain way.
You read my mind. The one thing that the Heisman hasn't changed in all of its years, regions still vote. And the one thing we know about the South, they vote for the SEC player.
Yep.
They do. That's been that case since, all the way back to Billy Cannon,
I guess it's really going to come down to, does the Midwest and the Pacific really team up because of USC and UCLA going to the Big Ten? Does that happen in these regions now?
Well, I don't think so, because the Midwest, I think, will vote for C.J. Stroud. The Pacific, and you have it's unlike what the NCAA basketball. It's about 6. And so usually the Mid-Atlantic and the Midwest kind of do the same thing. Then you have the Southwest and the Pacific. They usually do the same thing. But I do think that if Caleb doesn't win another region other than the Pacific, I definitely think Stetson Bennett probably wins this thing. But it will be the one thing we can say. I believe this will be one of the closest Heisman votes since you go back to 1985, when Bo Jackson of Auburn eked out his Heisman over. Here's a trivia question for the night. Who did he eke out his Heisman win over?
Was one of them Chuck Long?
Chuck Long of Iowa. Points to Doug. Winner, chicken.
Yeah, I knew Doug was going to get that one.
This is Dr. Balls, and you're listening to Smacking Off, the podcast.
Support Smacking Off the podcast by patronizing our affiliates' products. Go to our website at smackology.42web.io and click the affiliates link. There you will find a host of great deals to stretch your dollar to its fullest.
Great products like Showtime, Shark Vacuums, Dish Network, Vidgo, Hulu, NFL Plus, and GameStop. The list goes on. Remember, smackology.42web.io, and remember to click the affiliates link for these products and many more.
Of course, I'm going to watch the game.
Alabama
Absolutely.
will.
Of course, I want Alabama to win the game, but I have to be realistic here. Alabama tends to play flat in these situations.
And
Oklahoma.
Who's going to opt out? That's also a good question.
So
against the Big 12, no less. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I saw one Alabama player enter the portal. That was an offensive lineman.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't seen a mass exodus of players from Alabama in the portal or players opting out for the draft. I do expect Will Anderson to opt out.
Straight money. Money.
He's a top 5 pick in next year's draft. Yep. You do not want to risk $30 million on the Sugar Bowl. I get it. No. We saw that last year, Matt Corral of Ole Miss. But outside of Will Anderson, I'm struggling to find maybe Bryce Young, maybe, but I got a strong feeling that he wants to just put one last nice bow on his career with Alabama. I think Bryce Young is going to play in this game. And the New Year's Six, I know it's not a playoff, I get it, but a New Year's Six bowl is still a very special thing. I don't think
a lot of eyes watching you, and because he did get shut out of the both the playoffs and the Heisman Awards this year, definitely wants those eyes focused on him going into the draft.
Yeah, I think Young's going to play, and I think he's going to play well. I think Nick Saban is going to have the Alabama team motivated for this game to springboard into 2023. And, kind of what we started this conversation with, is the dynasty over? No, the dynasty is not over. Stop, get rid of the pitchforks and torches. Dynasty's not over. And I think Nick Saban's going to have this team ready to go. it's Kansas State, as good as they are on paper. Again, and we're still dealing with a portal and people opting out. But so far, if I look at this game on paper, Alabama is a vastly superior team to Kansas State. And I think Saban, he's the master motivator. He gets guys up for games. I like Alabama right now. Until I see Bryce Young opt out, until I see a bunch of dudes enter the portal, I like Alabama in this game. It's in New Orleans. Alabama fans are going to show up and turn out. Who wouldn't love to do New Year's Eve in New Orleans? That's a blast in and of itself. I like Alabama's game. I do right now. We're talking. It's December 8th, so we certainly have some time. But right now, as things stand, I like Alabama.
I don't have a strong feel at this point, but I think Shannon nailed it. Kansas State's going to have way more motivation to win this game than Alabama.
They have a little bit more, certainly, but
any team that faces Alabama, particularly a team that doesn't get to face Alabama regularly, will jump at the chance to show out
in a game that means nothing.
This is a team made up of JUCOs. Instead of Kansas State, this should be called JUCO State because 40% of their roster are JUCO players, and also.
JUCO State looked pretty good against TCU, who's going into the playoffs.
Yeah, they squeaked out a win in overtime. Let's.
But again, they had to stay in the game for the whole duration of the game in order to be able to make it to overtime.
To me, looking good is Utah dominating USC, who had everything to play for.
Yeah, there you go. Optics. Georgia whooping LSU's ass. That's what it was.
Did you guys realize in that SEC championship, Kirby has a long memory like an elephant.
Mm-hmm.
The beatdown Georgia got from LSU a few years back, right, with Joe Burrow and Orgeron.
Oh, yeah.
When they scored that last touchdown, an extra point makes it 49-30, right? And what did Kirby do?
He said 50.
50. We're putting 50 burger. He went for 2 and he got 50. I loved it. I love that sort of bitterness.
The amount of petty involved in the whole entire SEC this year among coaches has been a delight to watch. It's particularly Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin is just the most amazing man on social media. I love him so much. Roll Tide when we face him, but yeah, Lane's all right in my book.
But I did want to quickly come back to one thing when we were talking earlier about Dabo, right? And we were talking about, when does he finally exit Clemson stage left? I just had a great thought. And that thought is, whenever Texas A&M gets rid of Jimbo, which could be next year, could be in 2 years.
That would be amazing if that happens next year.
I'm just telling you, I want it on record right now. Here we are, December 8th, 2022. This might not happen until 2023, maybe even 2024, but we'll still be around to talk about it. But when it does, Dabo will go to Texas A&M. I'm calling it right now.
Wow.
Dabo would actually leave Clemson for Texas A&M, particularly with the trustee culture that they have there, which I don't know. I mean, Dabo's got enough hardware; he could probably silence them for a little while. But I mean,
remember. Dabo kind of has a cult-like personality, and A&M, their fan base and alums, also very cult-like. It's a match made in heaven. It's a match made in heaven. Until it isn't.
All right. Any other thoughts, guys?
No, that's it. I got to bounce, guys.
I think it's just a little early. I do have all the bowl games written out, but I think we can do this next week.
Oh, absolutely.
And we can talk bowl games then, because even though I did my homework, I just feel like we have to wait until all the opt-outs for the draft and all the transfer portals have kind of the dust has settled on that. And we could do it tonight, but I just don't feel like it would be doing it justice.
Right, I agree.
So let's table it maybe till next week.
Yes,
let's do it.
But I did enjoy tonight's conversation, and I'm not with you guys being kind of down on Alabama against Kansas State.
I am not down on Alabama at all. I'm just saying that I'm and Alabama fans have had to learn this over the course of Saban's tenure, I'm cautiously optimistic.
I mean, let me, before we close the whole show, real quick, because I have my answer. Would you be surprised if Alabama went out next year and won the whole national championship? Because I wouldn't be.
No, I wouldn't.
No, I mean, again, Alabama's. It's not like we've completely lost all of those.
You
just
get the number
amazing
one recruiting class
classes
in the country right now. I mean,
yeah, which it's going to take a year for those guys to get developed. But what we've got on the table right now, I mean, you saw how Milroe was throwing.
Yeah, I get there's some issues for Milroe to work out, but that doesn't mean you can't find a quarterback in the port.
That's where Alabama's going to have to be able to maintain their success as being able to work. And the NIL seems like they've already got that pretty well. I mean, Alabama's been paying players since Bryant, so whatever. But
since Kent Stabler,
the Porter had. Tell me I can't pay my quarterback or give my quarterback a new Cadillac. What's the line, Doug?
Golden Flake's been cashing those checks for years.
Doug, the line that Coach Bryant gave the NCAA about paying quarterbacks.
You know what? I do not know this. I've never heard this.
I've heard the old story goes that he had walked in there. They were facing some kind of penalty or something. This is early in the days of the NCAA cracking down on these programs. Before the SMU scandal,
One second. You're talking about Bryant when he was at A&M?
I believe he was at Alabama.
Well, he did some things at Kentucky and A&M before he even got to Alabama that were on the fringes of NCAA.
Yeah,
and look, that may be that Doug may have corrected me on that. Again, but this, as the story goes, he walked in the office and basically didn't even sit down or anything. Just basically tells me, "What the hell are you telling me? I can't give my quarterback a brand new car?" And they just basically just unceremoniously just turns around and walks out. Which again, that's a very Coach Bryant thing to do.
Yeah, college football is better because of Coach Bryant. He did a lot of things not only for the players but also for the game. And the funny thing is, whether you talk about SMU in the 80s, USC in the early 2000s, Miami forever, North Carolina, you name it. The funny thing of the whole matter is now it's legal. Like all this silliness that was to an extent, the school cannot have, we're doing air quotes here. The school can't do it. Okay, fine. But every school has a booster club, right? And they all they all sort of have an in with the coach, whoever the coach may be.
Tennessee had McDonald's.
Right, or Chick-fil-A as well. Yeah. Right, yeah. But, I mean, so, if you find an NIL, Bob's Chrysler dealership straight down the street from Knoxville wants to sponsor that player with NIL money. Now it's legal, but everything prior to 5 years ago, I think, 3 years ago when NIL came out, whenever the Supreme Court ruling came out.
How Alabama got around that, right?
Well, how's that?
Chrysler. Chrysler owns both Dodge and Mercedes-Benz.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Doug, Nick Saban has a Mercedes-Benz dealership off of Grants Mill Road. I'm correct on that, right?
Yes, and in Nashville, too.
Every player drives a Dodge Challenger, right?
But it's okay now. And I think we're all for things being done above the table. I think we're all cool with it. I don't have a problem with every Alabama player driving a Mercedes-Benz now because NIL is legit.
I never did, actually. As long as we're winning the games we've been winning and all this hardware we've been getting, yeah, man. They can drive Ferraris for all I care.
The only people that are really having a problem with it because are your rivals in the SEC. They don't have anything to complain about. Remember, for years, they would go, well, Alabama's paying these players. Well, what Alabama's doing, different than the other SEC.
Chrysler. That's what we were doing.
Well, no, but
It's
the
okay.
difference being is, and this is a great saying from you all watched the Pony Express 30 for 30, right?
I did.
I know Doug
I did not.
Well, Shannon, when you get a chance, go back and watch that one on the SMU
SMU scandal. Yeah,
right. The reason they got mad at SMU wasn't because they were paying players. The reason they got mad at them was they just happened to recruit and pay the players that were better than the other teams that were recruiting and paying lesser players that just weren't good at football. It's like, you're mad because we're all cheating, right? We're all cheating. Say we're all cheating.
Here's 6 things that you can do to help support this podcast. Like, share and comment on our videos. Buy our merchandise. Use our affiliate web links to buy great products and services from our affiliates. And tell others about our podcast.